Hello, and thanks for joining us today. I'm super excited you could be here because today we're talking about how to make a lot of money in real estate. We're actually talking about how to build a multi-million dollar real estate empire doing a lot of different types of transactions from all the way from wholesaling to flipping to other kind of transactions as well. And actually how you could build the real estate empire or start and then build and scale it to a multi-million dollar endeavor. So with us today is Tommy Harr. Now, Tommy is a 30-year-old home inspector turned real estate investor, born and raised in Pickerington, Ohio. So by the time he was 27, he was financially free and millionaire through real estate investing, starting with $0 in his bank account. All because he learned a blue collar skill and took action to invest into real estate, specifically fix and flipping, wholesaling, and the BRRRR method. Now, he's been in real estate for 7 years, and after college, he jumped full time into his dad's home inspection company. During that time, he 5x'd the revenue, systemized the business, and inspected over 5,000 houses. Using that knowledge, he has renovated over 150 homes to flip or to keep as rentals using the BRRRR method. Now, he's wholesaled 200 plus deals and has a 70 unit rental portfolio worth $15 million and 25 STRs managed in house, all alongside Andy. Now, he was featured twice in Business Insider in 2022 and has coached over 300 students nationwide on how to invest in real estate. He retired his mom from teaching in her job of 30 years in 2022 to run his Airbnb company, sell all their flips, and design all their renovations, which is pretty cool. Real family business. So, Tommy, thanks, man. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, you've done some really, really, really cool things. I mean, how has that been for you to go into a family business that they've done the same way for so long and then come in and just make differences that resulted in like such substantial growth?
Yes, I mean the family business was my dad's home inspection company. So when I graduated college, it was kind of the only option in my head was go back and help my dad. I'm one of five kids, the oldest boy, and before that, he had a property preservation company. So when banks were foreclosing on houses in '07, '08, '09, all the way to maybe 2015, we had a business, or he started a business that would basically trash the houses out, board them up, winterize them, mow the lawns for the banks. So basically preserving their assets so they don't lose all their money. And that's what I grew up in. So nobody really in my family invested in real estate. Nobody really ever talked about money. So as I started to learn and see the things that I know now, it completely changed my mindset and completely changed the way my family thinks about real estate as well. So now most of my family invests in real estate. My two younger brothers flip houses for a living. They own some rental properties, same with my parents now. So it's been really kind of a great transition and a lot of learning along the way as well.
So when you went into a home inspection business and you like 5x what he was doing, what kind of systems did you implement that were missing to be able to create that kind of growth in such a short period of time?
Yeah, my dad was doing it for at the time, so this is 2017. He was doing stuff that he had started doing in 2005, right? So he was taking a camera with an SD card out to properties, taking pictures, writing down notes on a clipboard, and coming back to his computer. And let's assume it's three inspections a day. So he's doing three inspections. You got to be boots on the ground, and he had to go back home and write these reports up, whether it was at night or it was in the morning. So it was a super antiquated system that he was using. So the first day I got to the office, which was our kitchen dinner table, he starts teaching me how to write these reports, and I'm like, Dad, what in the world are we doing right here? Because I'm fresh out of college. They talk about, technology, all this stuff. I'm like, Dad, this is dinosaur stuff. What are we doing? So very quickly got him up to speed with iPads, softwares. He was also, as we were driving, and this was just second nature, just felt normal to me. As we were driving, he's a solopreneur in this business. So he takes all the calls, he schedules the appointments, he calls the showing service to schedule the inspection, he talks to the agent. So a lot of just BS work that we can systemize. So got him signed up with a CRM that would auto schedule. Payments also would be collected online. He was having people mail them checks. I mean, so technically with a home inspection company, you're supposed to pay before the report is released. He's a very nice guy, very trusting guy, but with that stuff comes people taking advantage of it. So we had collectibles collections out the wazoo, and he felt bad tracking them down. So just completely restructured everything. So got an iPad that we can take pictures, got a software that we can build the reports on site, got a CRM, got a learned that there was a phone service that you can actually pay them to answer all of your calls live. They've got a team of 5 people. They only do home inspectors, so they know how to talk the jargon. They schedule for you. It pops right on your calendar. And then beyond that, it was just, okay, how can I fuel this fire with marketing? So I would go to all the meetups. I would sponsor events. I would basically just go around telling everybody what we did, and word of mouth grew and just started doing more and more and more.
I love everything you just said, and there's so many lessons in that I think our audience will learn from of just what happens when you just kind of embrace technology. Right now, we're obviously in an AI world, so it's still
Yeah.
amazing how much this can do for us. So, how do you translate it to real estate? Like, how do you go from this to then start going, like this could really make sense for us in real estate investing, and then how are you kind of making that transition into real estate investing from there?
Yeah, so we were doing a lot of stuff. They call them draw inspections. So as you get let's call it a hard money loan. Let's say you want to fix up a house, but you don't have 100 grand. Some sort of uh, hard money bank will give you 80% of the purchase, 100% of the rehab. But in order to get your rehab funds or even your initial loan to pass, you had to do a feasibility inspection and a draw inspection to draw the money out. So what that means is a home inspector needs to come boots on the ground and provide information to the bank. So an intermediary. So we were doing three, four, five, 10 of those almost a day some days. So I was seeing people renovate houses. I was seeing good work. I was seeing bad work. I was seeing scopes of work. I was seeing the money people were making. And I would just start following these people on Instagram around town that I kept getting these draw inspections for. I'm like, what is going on here? These people are doing a lot of business. And I would see them jumping off yachts. I would see them on vacation, taking care of their families, talking about financial freedom. And I was like, man, there's definitely something to this. And I started thinking, I mean, I'm in the right industry. It's just that I'm not in the right vehicle, I don't think. Like I could scale out a home inspection business, have a bunch of crews, but the liability is a lot higher on that. Um, but I mean, you could be the best coal miner in the world, but it's still not going to make you a millionaire. So I turned that and was like, okay, if that can make 30 grand on a flip, that's a whole month's worth of busting ass as a home inspector. So let's change the lens we're looking at and attack it there. So kind of just jumped in feet first with my uncle. That whole story is funny too, but I'll kind of spare it. But I did my first flip with him when I was 23 years old. Huge house. Me and him lost 100 grand on that house. So I jumped in feet first without knowing what I was doing, and it kind of bit us in the butt. And then just kind of took lessons from everything that we've learned and grew it from there.
Wow. So you started with fix and flipping. That's where you
Yes.
started. Okay.
Yes.
And so then from fix and flipping, when did you did you make a move into BRRRR next? Did you make a move into wholesale and start you didn't move from one to the other, but when did you start learning those two vehicles? Or those?
So I was learning them all at the same time. So I was listening as I was a home inspector in my car because it's very job site to job site. So instead of listening to music, I was listening to Bigger Pockets. So if you don't know what Bigger Pockets is, it's a podcast, a platform to where they literally just teach you real estate investing. So they have guests on there anywhere from Grant Cardone to brand new real estate investors. So I was getting exposed now every day to these success stories, and a lot of them were flipping, owning rentals. So I started learning. I studied finance in college. I never knew what the idea of passive income was. So I kept hearing this passive income from rentals, use debt as a vehicle. And I'm like, this makes a lot of sense to me. I'm a numbers guy. I like getting good debt that appreciates and you get a tax write-off and you get cash flow, all that stuff. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. I don't have any money right now, but this is an end goal. I want to own real estate. How do I get there? Active income. So I switched over to, okay, I'm making $32,000 a year working for my dad, not very great income. I didn't really see an end in sight growing that business because the property preservation business, he grew to about 60 employees at one time. That business shut their doors. So he was kind of against growing again a business and scaling it. So when you talked about the family in the beginning, that was really the push of like, I was pushing on him. He was letting me do some things, but it wasn't the scaling that business was not really an option. And I'm a young guy. I'm in a different phase of my life. So I'm like, I'm going to go start my own business and scale that and take on a little more risk that's involved with that. So to answer your question fully, to get out of my parents' basement again after that first flip, wholesaling was the answer. So if you guys don't know what wholesaling is, it's basically being a middleman in a real estate transaction. So we market out to owners that have distress. So boarded up houses, high grass, probate situations, bankruptcy situations to where they need to sell this asset fast for cash. Let's call it for 100 grand. We then button it up, sell it to an investor for, let's call it 110, and we make 10 grand in the middle. You can, over a couple phone calls and being a middleman, make hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. And I can attest to it. It is real. It's true. And that was what got me out of the home inspection business.
Then how did you find your way into short-term rentals and the BRRRR method?
So as we were starting to pick off deals, so we're seeing deals, we're making money wholesaling, doing a couple flips. You start to build that construction engine. And I'm from a home inspection background. So construction, and I did home inspections for probably 5 years. Construction was now second nature. I'm walking houses every single day, multiple. I'm seeing construction sites. So it was just my day to day. So I was like, okay, flipping and construction seems natural. Let's keep leaning into that. So as we were doing more wholesale deals, we were seeing the deals before anybody else was. So if we liked it and it was a great deal, we would just take it down ourselves. So we would raise money, and we still do to this day. That's our strategy. I raise money from private money lenders. Let's say it's 40 cents on the dollar because it needs another 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar of renovation, then to be worth that dollar. So I'm all in 70%, 70 cents on the dollar. And then banks will always give 25, 30% LTV on these loans. So they refinance out your lenders and go that way. So it was really just making money on the wholesaling side and having an influx of deals. And then also I loved the knowledge side of it. So as I was learning all these things, I didn't just learn about wholesaling. Now you can't do everything at once in the beginning, but I learned about everything else as I was taking action on the wholesaling side.
So now that you do so many different types of real estate investing, which by the way, kudos to you. I mean, super hard to even learn and master one of these, let alone multiple. How do you decide? Like when you have what are you out there looking for? And how do you decide which route to go?
Yeah, I get that question a lot nowadays, and I wish it was as easy just to like spit out an answer. I'm still a small business. We've got 10 employees on staff in Columbus, Ohio, between our wholesaling, flipping, and rental property company. Um, a lot of it's driven by cash flow. It's like, I mean, some months we'll have a decent amount of money in the bank. Some days it'll get low. So if we need to flip a house, one of my mentors always said, if you don't need it in your bank account, money wise, put it on your balance sheet. So meaning if I don't need that active income to stay afloat, because businesses only go bankrupt or out of business for cash flow. That's the only reason. So if we don't need the cash flow and you can refinance out and hold it and service debt with the rent, keep it. That's great. Long term, it's gonna pay you more than anything else. But during that, in that meantime, you have to keep the doors open with cash. So we just kind of look at it on a P&L cash flow basis. And then obviously there's deals that in areas that I love, that I believe in. I'll keep those more than anything, but it's more of like looking at it from a month-to-month standpoint.
Which makes a lot of sense, right? Because wholesaling, you're making quick cash. I don't want to say quick, but you get the idea. And the
Yeah.
same thing with fix and flip. You're making the cash, but it's not really setting up, the residual income. But
Yep.
then if you're going to short-term rentals, long-term rentals, it makes sense. So it kind of depends on your purpose. When you do that and you're talking about profitability on a flip, what have
Mhm.
you learned, some of the best lessons you've learned to be able to maximize that, to be able to make the right assessment of which property you should buy and then minimize the cost of rehabbing that property to be able to exit for the most amount of money?
I mean, the big thing is look at your comparable sales. So make sure, to me, so I lost a bunch of money with my uncle on our first flip because it was a class downtown neighborhood of Columbus, Ohio. If anybody's listening from Columbus, it was in Bexley. Great area, but it was on a double line road, right at a stoplight. 4,000 square foot, 5 beds, 6 baths, great old house, 100 years old. So all the things you don't want to look for when you're looking to flip. So basically you want a neighborhood that's, in my opinion, first time home buyer price point. So whatever that is in your area, because first time price point means the most amount of buyers. That's going to be your biggest buyer pool. Look for something that is in a neighborhood that has very boring, repeatable comps, meaning it's a 3 bed, 1 bath. Every other house in that neighborhood is a 3 bed, 1 bath. You want to make sure that you have multiple data points to make a data-driven decision of what it's going to be worth at the end. And then just use those finishes that they use on those houses that sell for the most. Don't be putting marble in a house that needs laminate. Don't spend extra money on things that are not necessary because My mom's my realtor now, and I have to tell her this over and over again. It's like, Mom, I am not moving into this house. You are not moving into this house. It's going to be very nice, but it's going to be nice for what the area allows, you know? So those are the big lessons that I learned. And then fire your contractors as fast as you can. Vet slowly, hire slowly, fire very fast.
It makes a tremendous amount of sense. Comparables, where are you getting them? Zillow or is
Yeah.
there?
We just go Zillow. So we're in a disclosure state. So if you're in Texas or Louisiana, I think those are the two, maybe Oklahoma. The MLS doesn't syndicate to Zillow anymore, so it won't show. But we just use 90 days or less, 6 months or less. If you can stay below 6 months, and that general area. Don't go over highways, don't go over double line roads. Try and stay in those individual pockets.
You're talking about these fix and flips. How are you getting financing to buy them?
Yeah, so now uh, as I've grown social media, and I've been posting on my social, at least stories, for almost 8 years now when I was a home inspector. So I've had people that just follow me for a long time, and I talk about real estate every day. So that means that when people think about real estate, they think about you. And when you start talking about these different types of investment strategies, and most people think, okay, you got the stock market, you've got 401ks, you've got. All right, we're back.
I don't know if that was you or me. That was such a
I don't
weird.
know. That was weird.
All right, so you literally cut out and you were talking about people invest in stocks and 401ks, they follow you, and that's where you cut out.
Yeah, so they're investing in the traditional asset classes and what was widely talked about, and they never think about you can lend money on somebody's investment property. Like you don't own the asset, but you have a lien position. So the cool thing about that is I'm raising money from individual people just like you, from family, friends, from people that just know who we are, and the upside is great, right? Because if you go invest in a stock, you don't get you can't go knock on the door of Apple and be like, hey, I'm here, I'm one of the owners, can we talk? When you lend private money, there's multiple things that make it more secured and a great investment. One, we're paying our lenders double digit returns, 10, 12, 14% sometimes. And it's backed by the asset, meaning we write a note and a mortgage and they get a lien position on the house. That means if I go belly up bankrupt or I skip town, they now have rights of refusal, they call it, to the property. So they then go to the judge and they say, hey, I have this note and mortgage. I can foreclose on this house and take back an asset that's discounted. That's great, as long as they can do some underwriting. Now, you can't do that with a stock. If your stock tanks, it just is what it is. So we give those opportunities to people. And the cool thing is you can lend out of things that are not just money sitting in a bank account. Self-directed IRAs are one of the biggest things I raise capital from. So if somebody has an idle 401k, they can roll that to a self-directed and lend to someone like me at whatever interest rate me and you decide. It's an amazing, amazing strategy. I've helped people 4 or 5x their 401ks, and that is truly helping them retire, you know? So it's giving somebody an incredible opportunity.
So what you're doing is taking someone like me that has money, and I want to invest in real estate, but I don't want to do the work, and I don't want to lose my butt because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't want to take the time to learn what I have to learn, right? You lost your butt the first time because you didn't know what you were doing, right? So I'm going to be the same way. And you give me an opportunity to invest with you and then have you do the work, and I still get really good returns without getting the education, making the mistakes, all the other stuff that's involved. Is that fairly accurate?
Absolutely. There's so many steps of the process that nobody really thinks about. I mean, finding the deal, finding the contractors, running the job site, managing the money, managing the headache. So basically, we tell people I never use the word passive in real estate because rentals are not passive. I don't care what anybody says. This is the only passive way to make income, in my opinion, in real estate investing.
What about wholesaling? So when it comes to wholesaling, what's the key? What's your key there for your tribe of people that are investing with you, including you? to be able to find the right properties that you can be able to be able to do with wholesaling, because you got to find the right property
Sure.
and then you're committing to buy it. And then you
Yep.
got to find a buyer to be able
Yep.
to buy that paper. Like that, there seems like there's not a lot of room for error there.
Yeah. So there's definitely some nuance to it. I mean, you're pulling data out of thin air. So the cool thing about real estate is everything's public record. So any type of distress, I mean, everything is public record as far as evictions, tax delinquencies, anything that may be motivation. So what we do is we put these houses in contract, and a lot of times we're doing it over the phone. So we maybe even not have walked the house, and you have a 30-day due diligence period, meaning within 30 days, I am committing the option to purchase. Now, if the seller's lying about condition, if certain things happen, you do have a clause to back out. Unless you have an earnest money deposit, you may lose 500, 1,000, 1,500 bucks. That's your risk in the deal. If you can't sell it, as long as you're being ethical and truthful throughout the process, you can still back out of that contract. So you're still usually within 30 days trying to find a buyer and keeping the seller in the loop on what's going on.
Makes sense. You talked about raising money. Let's call it a syndicate. I don't know if we should or not. So we are raising money from the tribe. I don't even want to say raising money. You're giving the tribe an opportunity to invest into these properties without doing the work. So do you ever deal with financing options? Like you got a huge following of people that you're teaching real estate to. Wasn't what you started. You just wanted to help, and now all these people follow you and you're teaching real estate. Are there other kind of financing that you're having them focus on? Like you talked initially about hard money fix and flip or hard money loans that are basically for fix and flips, right? Not that you experimented with it. That's how you kind of started to learn about it. Do you instruct your tribe or give them instructions besides the self-directed IRAs, the 401ks, on other ways that they could get money through fix and flip loans or any other kind of FHA or whatever it may be, DSCR? Do you
Yeah,
help them, and do you ever deal with that stuff to help yourself and help them as well?
absolutely. Yeah. So let's call it the front end financing, because the front end financing, when you buy the asset, it has to be a cash equivalent. Sometimes you'll be able to do a DSCR, but definitely not conventional financing on most of these deals. So we're not really talking about conventional. Now, I did house hack 2 houses with FHA loans when I got started. Amazing strategy, one of the best in the world, in my opinion. But we're teaching people how to, one, to raise the capital from private, and then also hard money. Hard money is an amazing strategy. I mean, if you can leverage 80% of bank financing for purchase, 100% of rehab, you just got to now bridge that 20%, whether it's your money. It could be out of a home equity line of credit. It could be out of savings. You also can raise that 20% from a private money lender too. So we do teach that. I highly recommend anybody listening to this. If you're like, man, I don't know anybody that has 250 grand for houses in my market, leverage a hard money company like Kiavi. Write that down. KAI or KIAVI. They're a nationwide hard money company. They're a tech company. They're fantastic. Um, Now, you will have to pay monthly payments. There's a whole bunch of nuance that you got to learn. But yeah, we do teach that. And then the back end financing, yes, we teach people DSCR loans, how to raise. I just did a call last week on raise or restructuring debt into community banking loans, so portfolio banking, so working with their small local banks, stuff like that.
So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen people make? Because you're doing this, you made mistakes, and then you have a lot of students that come to you to try to follow your trainings and then probably make their mistakes. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make trying to get into real estate?
I see people get so once you get the real estate bug, it's hard to get out of like wanting to do a deal, wanting like I'm so excited. And a lot of people let that excitement make them buy a bad deal. So you kind of fluff your numbers a little bit. But at the end of the day, your numbers are not going to lie, but you are going to lie to yourself. So people will fluff their numbers. Oh, I can get this concrete done for half of the price, or I can maybe do some of the painting. And at the end of the day, or they think, oh, I can sell this house for a little bit more than what the comps are saying. At the end of the day, once you sign on that dotted line and you own that house, nothing else matters. I mean, you are on the hook for that asset and financial liability. So you have to be very, very conservative, especially with a time like before, like into 2023, 24. I mean, there's still uncertainty with interest rates, elections, stuff like that. It's the time to be very conservative in your underwriting, but also as those times are coming, it also is opportunity because people are on the sidelines. Hedge funds are on the sidelines. There's a lot of people that are waiting to see what happens, and there's good deals to be had.
Yeah, I love that you say that. Yeah, I've spent the last probably 2 years really diving into biases and why we make decisions like humans, or like what decisions we make. And what I've come to the conclusion of is we are really, really bad at making decisions. Like we have these biases that we do not understand and completely ignore, and they make us make really bad decisions.
Yeah,
And we're even worse at then justifying the bad decisions that we've made based on these
yeah,
biases. So I love that you talked about that because I don't think I've had anybody touch upon the fact that like you're doing it to yourself, like you're skewing your own number, you're creating these
all the time,
biases
all
that
the time.
lead you to make that mistake. What about risk? I mean, what do you think are some things people could do to get into real estate with you, or even those who are trying on their own, and to mitigate the risk that they take on?
Yeah, so there's always going to be risk. So you got to understand that when you go in, you're never going to negate all risk. But the biggest two things that I see to mitigate risk as a real estate investor is number one, learn construction. If you can learn houses or the way things are built, because I see so many real estate investors, they know real how to find deals. Number two is finding great deals. That's the best way to mitigate risk. But another way, I know real estate investors that they just rely solely on what their contractors tell them. So I'm running a business that I own and run, but I have to talk to this person on what it is and what to do. To me, that is asinine. So learning the ins and outs of a house. A 100-year-old house has knob and tube. It has galvanized plumbing. It has stone foundation. That's different than a 70s house. So knowing those different things will let you mitigate your risk and make educated decisions moving forward on the assets that you're buying. So to me, that's very, very important.
Tommy, what's it like to work with you? So let's say that I want to get into real estate investing. What can you do to help me? Like, do you have trainings? Do you have a course? Do you have, I know, like, how does it work? What can you do to help me get into the game?
Yeah, I mean, I got a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, number one is going to be I've got so much free content out there. I mean, I literally had somebody on my YouTube yesterday say they bought their second deal after watching months of my YouTube videos. So if you want to binge YouTube University and learn from me that way or Instagram, I put a lot of stuff out. And that's great. I mean, that makes me feel just as good as somebody that pays me for mentorship to say, hey, I just want you to be successful, whether you pay me or not, right? And the stuff that I've learned is amazing, and I just want to help people out. And then the second way is I mean, I can help you via mentorship. We have a nationwide community of people, so a network of investors that I've helped. They help me from what they've done in the past, and we have classes, we have courses, we have all these things to basically help you jump the line then from learning on your own.
And where's the best place that I should be able to go to be able to access all of that?
Yeah, so my Instagram or YouTube would just be under Tommy Harr, Tommy Harr 05 on Instagram. And then my community is called The Real Side of Real Estate. So a lot of stuff I talked about today, the risk, the management, the construction, that's a lot of stuff that people don't talk about. They're like, oh, I made so much money, pay me. It's like, that's not really what you should be buying into. So the real side of real estate came from that. And that is realsidecommunity.com.
That's realsidecommunity.com.
Yep.
Can they get to your social channels from there as well?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so real side of real side of real estate community.com,
Yep.
right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. What is something I should have asked you that I didn't ask you that you think could help everybody that's watching today?
That's a good question. I mean, usually people they ask, okay, if you were to tell yourself something in the past, what would it be? I mean, when you get into a new venture, commit time to it. Commit time for errors, commit time for the stumbles, but it is truly real estate is truly a snowball. If you can learn concepts, take action and start doing deals within th 2, 3, 4, 5 years for sure, you can literally change your entire family tree on a financial standpoint. I mean, and I can tell you that firsthand because I did it. I don't come from immense amounts of money. My parents are middle class. My dad's a home inspector. My mom's an algebra teacher in high school. We never talked about investing. Now, millions of dollars in portfolio money. My mom doesn't work her job anymore. She sells my houses. She'll make $300,000 this year just selling real estate that I hand her. It can completely change everybody in your family fast.
I love it. Tommy, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing.
Dude, it was an absolute blast. I appreciate it.
All right, so listen, if you're watching this, here's what's interesting. Tommy is one of those very, very rare people that has mastered multiple different paths in real estate. I mean, and this is really hard to accomplish. I mean, some people specialize in fix and flip, but that's all they do. Some focus on short-term rentals, that's all they do. So when you have a mentor that focuses on multiple different ways to go, it just gives you more options. The reality is you might do what he's described. Use all of these. You might use wholesaling and fix and flip to get the cash and then use that to invest in a long-term or short-term rental strategy. But in order to do that, you have to know multiple forms of real estate. Well, most people specialize in one. So if you're just going to get the cash through wholesaling and fix and flip, they can't help you with long-term, short-term rental. Like you got to go find all these different mentors, and then like the lessons that are being learned are overlap, and one's saying one thing. It's a confusing nightmare. It's what pushes a lot of people away from real estate investing. But Tommy does it all. Like he done it all. And not only does he done it all, but he's mastered it all, not only with just his money, but he has a lot of other people investing because they see what he's doing. So all of these is what we call social proof that this is the guy that knows like how to do these things. So here's what you should do next. Make sure you go to realsidecommunity.com. That's realsidecommunity.com. And if you go to realsidecommunity.com, then you're going to find a lot of different stuff. You'll be able to learn about his programs. You'll be able to learn about his mentorship program. You'll be able to follow his social channels where he's got massive following because he's teaching you a lot of what you need to know. So you can take his free information by going to realsidecommunity.com. You can then subscribe to his social channels, follow and take his free information. Then you can come in and start looking at his mentorship programs and the program to take a deeper dive so he can actually help you succeed. Okay, there's a lot of resources there as well, success stories, so you can actually see like what he's done in the past. And you can even see podcasts and other things he's been featuring in, amongst a lot of other stuff. So what I want you to do right now is go to realsidecommunity.com. That's realsidecommunity.com. If you go to realsidecommunity.com, make sure you go to the bottom of the page. It takes less than a minute and just boop, 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 subscribe to the social channels. Right there, he talked about YouTube and all the training. He's got people literally doing multiple deals just from what they got from his social channels. You get all that. Just go to realsidecommunity.com, go to the bottom, subscribe, takes less than a minute, and then look around while you're there. There's a lot of resources and help that you're going to be able to see here that'll give you more insight. There's zero reason you should be investing in real estate. Zero reason. It makes no sense for you to not be investing in real estate. So if you've been overwhelmed with what to do and how to get there, you just got it. There's the path. So make sure you go right now to realsidecommunity.com, follow on social, and check it out. There's a lot of things there that will help you get started or help you take the next step in real estate investing to start getting the financial freedom you deserve. So make sure you check it out, realsidecommunity.com. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.